What time is it? It's time for another Every Other Wednesday.
Oh, is my hair okay?
No, not
Okay.
really, but you know.
I'll be back after a haircut.
Okay.
Welcome, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
As people are coming in, I'd like to ask a question that they can put the answer in the chat
Oh,
box.
I'm so glad you thought of that. I thought of a few, but I forgot to mention to you. Yeah.
Well, a simple yes or no question. Do you have a formal mentoring program at your place of work? Yes or no?
Okay. Does that
Richard?
portend a little bit about what we're going to talk about today?
Oh, no, not at all. I'm just curious.
About being formal, formal attire, formal dress.
We are never formal.
Okay. Hey, and remember, it's only Jeff and me here today. We don't have Sanjay and Mike, and Sanjay is usually the one who remembers to tell everyone to do as Ashley did and change your default. If your chat defaults as hosts and panelists, change it to everyone.
And so the question, just to repeat, is, do you have a formal mentoring program at your place of work? Yes or no? And Ashley wrote us instead of yes or no, she wrote us a whole.
Oh, Shelley has we do. Okay.
Good. Oh, great.
City of Edmonton, wouldn't you know? Yep.
Of course.
I would expect nothing less.
What does that mean? Oh, okay. Do we know Edmonton that well? Or?
Well, I think of, first of all, I think of Canada as being quite an enlightened, kind of a progressive country, and I think of Edmonton in particular as being an enlightened and progressive city.
You're such a sucker. You just want to go to Edmonton. I know.
I've never actually been to Edmonton. I've been all over Alberta, but I haven't been to Edmonton. I've been to Medicine Hat, but I haven't been to Edmonton.
I have been there many times.
I bet, yeah.
Well, welcome everybody.
Yeah.
To this edition of Every Other Wednesday. The date is Wednesday, May the 3rd, and we're going to get started. Richard,
that's right.
No surprise.
Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I just wanted to add my welcome and say hello, everybody. Why don't we have I ever been to Memphis? Frederick, I've been to Memphis so many times I can't even count. But let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. Jeff, why don't you introduce yourself first?
I was just going to start. So I'm Jeff Tobe. I'm based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I do want to say that I am formerly a Canadian, born and raised, and I want to say go Leafs. That has not left my blood, and I am a huge Maple Leafs fan, and for the first time in a lot of years, they're not disappointing yet. So we'll see what happens. But I am a professional speaker and trainer, all in the area of customer, member, or experience.
Very good. And hi, I'm Richard Hadden, and I'm an author and speaker. I wrote Contented Cows Still Give Better Milk and a few others. And I live in Jacksonville, Florida, but I'm not there today. I'm actually coming to you today from the Minute Suites at the Atlanta airport because I'm on my way to Kansas City and I have a nice long layover. I mean, who knew it was going to be right at this time where we could do Every Other Wednesday. So here I am. It's great. And this is a nice little venue to be in. I hope you can see and hear me well. Jeff, I don't know, I can't describe it. I just have this kind of this feeling like I'm being watched.
Why?
I just wanted to share that with you, just in case I seem not myself at all today. But
all right.
Well, anyway, here I am. Okay.
By the way, Shelley mentioned Pickle Fest, and that's one of our new things in Pittsburgh, being home of Heinz. So they have a Pickle Fest. Anyway, right. Today we are going to discuss the topic of mentoring. Richard and I both agreed that we both know a little bit about it, and maybe a lot more than other people, and the pros and cons of a formal mentoring program and informal mentoring programs as well. Yeah.
And of course, as always, our Every Other Wednesday audience is a fount of knowledge, and I think especially in this case, we're going to put some pressure on you folks out there to help us and give us your involvement, your input. So, Jeff, take it away.
Well, I'm going to ask you first because you are the
Okay, yeah.
wise and wisdom one in the group, and that is
Oh, really?
where.
How did I get that? I don't know.
Well, you are today anyway, so
Okay.
it's just you and me. So that's not
Yeah.
much of a
That's
choice.
right, because there's Sanjay's not old enough to have wisdom, and Mike is wise, but he's so funny that it's hard to remember that he's
Right,
wise.
right, exactly. So I think that you have the knowledge of where the word mentoring derives from.
Oh, do you not know? I thought it was common knowledge.
No, I don't know.
Where it comes from. Well, yeah, I mean, it comes from Greek mythology. So mentor, I mean, you have to follow this because it gets a little squirrely, but mentor was the son of Alcimus, who was in the epic, the Odyssey. And so then, yeah, so Alcimus had this son, Mentor, and Alcimus put Mentor in kind of charge or give him some responsibility for Odysseus's son Telemachus while Odysseus was away fighting the Trojan War. Now, Mentor took on or actually it was Athena, the goddess of war and the patroness of the arts and industry. And Athena took on the form of Mentor and accompanied Telemachus on his quest. So the word mentor has evolved to mean a trusted advisor, friend, teacher, and wise person.
Okay, there will be a test at the end.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. Telemachus, Odysseus, Alcimus, Athena.
Did you happen to notice Carol's post?
Oh, what did Carol say? Carol's always got a great.
Carol, wake up, wake up.
Carol, we love you. We love it when you're here. Thank you.
I love it. So ours is going to be, I know that we're always asking for participation, but ours is going to be a very participatory session today. And we have a series of questions to ask. And the first one is, and especially for those of you who do have a formal mentoring program, the question is why? Why establish a formal mentoring program? You know,
where did the need come from? That kind of thing.
Yeah. I've had the privilege, as you know, Richard, and I've mentioned on a few EOWs to be working very closely with an organization of 8,000 people. And one of my purviews, I guess, is to establish a formal mentoring program. And that's how I've learned so much about it. You know, I think that in our lives, we have so many mentors, and we're talking on a professional level. At the organization with which I'm working, it's a government organization, very technically minded. 90% of them are engineers of some kind.
That's right up your alley, Jeff.
Yeah, right. We literally have rocket scientists who work there. And what I found out is that everybody who enters the organization has what they're calling a technical mentor. That's a person in your department who mentors you on how to do the job. Technical, not meaning technology, but you could be in HR and you still have a technical mentor, somebody who's there to help you do your job. What they've asked me to do is to start to create a career development mentorship program. And that's really where we're going to focus today. But I think that we have many mentors in our lives. And I think that the question that I get often as I'm waiting to see why, before we talk about the why, is also that people have multiple mentors in their lives, and it's not always a long-term relationship. At the organization, again, with which I'm working, I will tell you that we're implementing what's called a buddy system as well. And a buddy is assigned to you the minute you accept the position. I should explain that because it's a government entity, there is a lag of many months between accepting the position, getting security clearance, and actually starting your first day. And this organization is losing 20 to 25% of people who say yes and accept the job until the first day. So that's a huge amount that we're focused on. And the idea that I came up with was a buddy system where you're assigned a buddy at acceptance. And that buddy, it's a very short term. This is not a mentor. This is a short-term relationship where you can ask for the first few weeks, ask any stupid question. What do I wear on the day one? Where do I you know, is there a cafeteria? Those kinds of things. And it extends only for about a month after day one. So somebody to have lunch with a couple of times to ask questions that you may not want to ask your manager or supervisor, but we are putting it under the umbrella of mentoring. So Richard, I wanted to go back because we have some answers. I was trying to give them time. Why? Mark says mentoring helps with onboarding and retention. Thank you. That's exactly where we were going.
Yeah, yeah. And especially the application that you just mentioned, Jeff, is clearly in onboarding.
Yeah. Technical mentor. Thank you. I don't know Jay Sigler's first name, but thank you. I think
Jill. That's Jill
Oh,
Sigler.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, Jill. Yeah, I don't care about the size of the organization. I think a technical mentor is something that somebody should have. You can call it a buddy in that case too. I'm just trying to distinguish. Shelley says her team does this. It works well. In other words, the buddy system. And Mark says people will go to a mentor before their supervisor if they have an issue.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think mentoring, Richard? Why is it important?
First, we just have to say that Stephen Rayfield said, "Where are the Chat GPT notes?" Thank you.
Is that for your explanation of mentoring?
I guess, yeah. No, I actually knew that. I re-looked it up again today, but I did kind of know that. I'm sorry, Jeff. Back to your question. It was
back to why mentoring.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you, I hate to go back to the nerdy Greek thing, but if you go back to that, the actual vision of that is as Athena, she was kind of perched in a tree, kind of just watching over Telemachus. She wasn't like telling him what to do and that kind of thing. She was just kind of flying around and watching over. And then he would sometimes, ask Mentor some questions. And that's how I see a mentor. They're not super intrusive. They're there as needed. And then if they see some things where, it would be helpful to the mentee. I don't really like the word mentee, but I think that's the word we use. Some people use protege, and that sounds a little too, I don't know, fancy, but to the mentee, if you see some need for that mentee to be guided, or you see them kind of getting ready to crash into the rocks or something like that, then you can have those conversations. But I like the idea of it's a little bit hands off. It's there if I need you, and it's not super intrusive.
See, it's interesting you say that, because working on implementing a formal plan, I think it is a little bit intrusive at first until they establish a lot of things, establish trust.
Plan. Yeah, some ground rules and
exactly
rules and things. Yeah.
And I think that the beginning step in doing this, first of all, what we're doing at this organization is we've actually created a portal for mentoring, and we literally have what I'm calling, they don't like me calling this, but I'm calling a dating site. You can register as a mentor, and I'm going to stress
you can call it Mender. Mender.
I like that.
Swipe right,
yes.
Or is it swipe left?
No.
I don't know how it works, but
you can
swipe
register
right or swipe left.
Will you be replacing Sanjay as our comedian? Is that
right? Well, I'm also replacing Sanjay as our person who knows about Greek things, because Sanjay is, of course, half Greek.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, you can guess that, right? I forget what I was saying. Completely lost.
No, we were talking.
It's like a dating site, and I'm going to stress you can register as a mentor and or a mentee.
Okay,
and what we found really interesting is that so many people who are qualified and to be a mentor or want to be a mentor also are looking for a mentor. So they're registering on both, and it matches based on attributes, goals, things like that.
Right. Yeah.
So
you could actually have the concept of a grand mentor.
Yeah.
Someone who is mentoring someone who is mentoring someone.
Yeah. And exactly. And I think that it is a fairly formal. We even have documents posted on how to put together an agreement. If you choose, it's totally up to the two people involved. How to put together goals and vision and goals for the mentee and milestones, so that that is a formal piece of it. I think there is always that informal piece as well. But going back, to why mentoring, I also think, obviously for retention, retaining good talent right now, as you know, is primary number one. But I think the other reason is that personal relationship that you may not have. You mentioned to me, and I'm going to ask you now, but you mentioned to me a term I'd never heard of, reverse mentoring.
Yeah, reverse mentoring. So an organization that I spoke for last year has a pretty robust mentoring program, and as part of that, they have what they call reverse mentoring, and that is where someone with less experience is the mentor to someone with more experience. Now, it's based on experience, but of course it tends to be also related to age. So you'll have a younger person mentoring an older person about things like a younger person's culture, what younger people want and like in the world and in the workplace, about technology. This is a heavily technologically oriented company, and so they had the opportunity for younger mentors to mentor older mentors with respect to technology. But an example that they gave me was an older person who actually was a mentor to other people as well, but an older person sought out the reverse mentorship relationship with a younger worker who was able to actually help the older worker understand his adult children a little bit better, because they were kind of on the same wavelength. So it was, the purpose of their mentoring program largely was to build those kinds of personal relationships that can be helpful in a professional setting.
Yeah. And let me throw in another thing too, that so we've got reverse mentoring, which I've never heard of. I'm going to throw in a new word that a lot of organizations are starting to throw around, and that's the word allyship. Have you heard this term? So
I have not.
Allyship, interchangeable.
I can imagine what it would mean. Yeah.
Well, guess. Go ahead. I'm curious.
Well, you're as an ally. You're there as an ally, kind of as a friend. You kind of, I don't know. Maybe if things get a little risky or a little tricky, you can go to that ally, and they can kind of advocate for you.
Yeah, you're completely wrong, but that's great.
Yeah, thank you. Then I want you to set me straight.
No, it is that concept, I guess, in a different way. Allyship is the next step to mentorship, and so again, at this organization,
beyond mentorship, okay.
Beyond. So you start with a mentor in your life or in your career development, but at some point, you are I guess. Pointed out as a potential executive in the organization.
As a high potential person.
High potential, yeah, thank you. That's what I was trying to think of, high potential candidate. And now you're assigned a senior leader who is responsible for more allyship, as I said, is being interchanged with the word sponsorship. They're basically sponsoring you. They believe in you.
If you had said sponsorship, yeah,
I led you down that path. So that's the kind of the another kind of view of mentorship. I like what Stephen said. Mentoring provides the opportunity for questions without career repercussions.
Yeah, that is really good.
Absolutely,
that's really important. Yeah,
I think that's.
We've got a lot of good comments here.
Yeah.
Let's look at that. As Mark said, mentoring, onboarding, and retention. Technical mentor Jill likes that idea. I love the buddy system as well. My team does this, and it works so well. And it's interesting, Jeff, because when you mentioned it in the context of mentoring, I wouldn't have thought. I don't argue with it, but I wouldn't have thought of that. I talk a lot about onboarding and about the need to have somebody that you can just kind of buddy up with. To the way I put it is to help with all kinds of quote new employee things.
Right.
It's usually not somebody in your department. It's usually somebody, but they can tell all of those things. Where's the bathroom? Where do you park? Who do you call by their first name and who do you not?
Right.
And where do you eat and all of those kinds of things that are so important.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then people will go to, Mark says people will go to a mentor before their supervisor if they have an issue.
So
Anna says, in a nutshell, Stephen, mentoring provides the opportunity. Yeah, okay, very good. Yeah. And of course, Anna Wildman was our guest just a couple of every other Wednesdays ago. And remember, she was talking about coaching and having difficult conversations.
Yeah.
And so
I saw the replay, by the way. It was wonderful, Anna.
Oh, that's right. You weren't there, Jeff.
I wasn't there. Right.
So you mentioned a minute ago, Jeff, the difference between coaching and mentoring. Now, Anna deals in both coaching and mentoring. I kind of associate her in her book, Who's Talking Now. Did I get it right, Anna? I have it on my desk, but I'm not at my desk. Now Who's Talking. I associate that with more coaching and having difficult
Now
conversations.
you're talking.
Now you're talking. Oh gosh.
That's it. Nice
Yeah,
try.
I've read it. I have it in my book. Well, actually, while we're talking,
How does one get that book, Richard?
well, actually, I know exactly how one gets Now You're Talking right now. And Now You're Talking is available now. Now You're Talking for pre-sale. And Anna has made it, has let us know. Actually, she did not ask me to say this at all. She did not, but I happen to know this is true, and I want to bring this up because her episode a few weeks ago was so well received and was so helpful. And so if you order her book, the ebook right now before May the 15th as a pre-order in the first place, because you'll get a 50% discount, which means it will cost you $4.98. In Canada, that's about $18. But no, it's not that much. It's a little bit more than $4.98. But in addition to that, you get access to exclusive on-the-job coaching videos and, in fact, the full video library. So right now, I'm going to put a bit.ly code in the chat.
And Ashley says that Ashley and Shelby already have it.
Oh, yeah.
The ebook, I'm sorry, Jeremy, will not be a signed copy, but I'm sure that if you find out where Anna works, you can drop by and have your forehead autographed.
Now there's the bit.ly code for the US, and I also want to give you for Canada.
Okay, let's get back to the topic while you're doing that.
Yeah.
We have some people. So Carol has a question. How do you, well, first I want to go back, and I'm sorry I can't see it now, but it's was a question Stephen asked about mentoring. How does the older male mentor younger females in terms of sensitivity? I think that you know, that's a great HR question.
Yeah.
I don't see it as a challenge at all. I don't think it should be a sensitive thing. I think that it's about wisdom and only about wisdom. I think that, you know, you can still, one of the questions that comes from that, Stephen, I would ask back is, you know, if you've ever had a mentor or been a mentor, you know, how personal does it get? And I think boundaries are a huge part of the mentoring process. And we have to establish boundaries as things arise. It's not something that's going to be in that initial contract or sitting down and saying, you know, regarding our sexes, our you know, whatever it is, this is where the boundaries lie. I think that it's more reactive when it comes to that. Carol said, how do people have time to mentor and attend networking functions and still get their job done? Great question. The other thing we're finding in this organization with whom I'm working is that a lot of people don't have the bandwidth. They did, and they became mentors, and then all of a sudden they don't have the bandwidth. I think the greatest disservice you can do to your mentee is not address it and not say, look, things have changed for me as a mentor. I just, you know, I can't be your mentor and do a good job. But it's also up to, I think, a responsibility of the mentor to find a replacement, somebody now that they know this person who might be great. But it is about relationships. That's where I was going. And when we asked why, you know, why mentoring, I think it's establishing relationships with people you may not ever have a relationship
but
with.
you wouldn't otherwise necessarily come into contact with.
Yeah. So let me ask the next question to our audience. And that is, you started to touch on it, and when you started to talk about Anna, is there a difference between coaching and mentoring? And if so, what is it? You know, what's the difference between coaching and mentoring? I get this question all of the time now that I'm in the mentoring space. Well, I'm already doing coaching, you know, and I'm to be honest, I'll give away my feelings. Hair on the back of my neck kind of stands up because I think they are different. I think they intersect. If there were two, if it was a diagram, it'd be two circles and the middles would kind of intersect, because there are some things about coaching and mentoring that are very similar. Like
a Venn diagram.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, just call on me for all of this.
Yeah, no, I speak for a living. I just want you to know. So obviously you're much better at it than me. But so Mark says coaching is about behaviors, mentoring is about knowledge. Wow, I like that. You know, I think
so let me ask, what if somebody is exhibiting ineffective behaviors? Could a mentor address? I don't know, I'm not arguing, I'm just asking, and Mark, maybe you can answer this. what if I'm, what if I'm doing something that maybe is not really helping me behaviorally at work? Could the mentor help with that, or is that only a coaching kind of a deal?
Well, Don goes further. I like this. Coaching deals with specific skill development, whereas mentoring deals with the well-being of the mentee. Interesting.
Okay.
Coaching is driving results like a coach in hockey. Mentoring is providing wisdom people can use or not. Yeah, I think that coaching, for the most part, much of coaching is telling me what to do, or coming up with solutions.
Yeah, I mean, I generally think of coaching as being much more interactive. I'm not necessarily telling you what to do, but I might be drawing it out of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Frederick says, I think of coaching as performance focused and mentoring more of a navigational skill. How am I moving throughout my workspace career?
Oh, well, that's great.
I love that. Yeah,
I do too. I like that because,
yeah,
and maybe we could even say that coaching is a little more easily defined. Mentoring is less easily defined. It's certainly well observed, it has an impact, but it's a little bit more general, and I don't mean general in a negative sense. I used to describe, and tell me if you, I don't know, Jeff, tell me how you feel about this. I have felt like coaching is generally a subset of mentoring. So I have seen mentoring as a larger umbrella, and a mentor does a whole bunch of things. One of those is coaching.
I like that.
So you can be a coach without being a mentor, but I don't think you can be a mentor without also being a coach.
What else would be under that umbrella then, Richard? So we've got coaching.
Yeah, giving advice, bouncing things off. Bouncing things off me, sharing institutional wisdom and knowledge, institutional history, perspectives, and so forth.
Excellent. No, I like that. I know I put you on the spot there, so I love that. And by the way, Frederick, I just want you to know I actually took a picture of your answer, your response. I'm going to use that actually this week in a meeting I'm going to. I'll give you full credit by next week. That one's mine.
Yeah, there you go.
That's called research and development.
Jeff is going to make you famous.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious, Anna, if you don't mind, maybe weighing in on this. How do you, if someone were to say to you, which I'm going to say to you now, that coaching can be a subset of mentoring? What do you think about that? This is where I sometimes wish we could hear audibly from our participants, but I'm sure we'll get a comment from Anna.
Yeah, let's go on.
Yeah.
Do you think, or let's talk about what qualifications a mentor should have. And people, if you've never had a mentor or never mentored, if you've never mentored, most of us have had a mentor in our lives, maybe not professional development or career development, but what are some of in those chat box, would you put some of the adjectives that you think it qualifies someone as a great mentor? That's
a great question. Anna has kind of answered my question in the chat by saying, I see coaching as task focused and mentoring as whole person. Oh, that's so much better said than the way I said it. Yeah. When I said coaching is a little bit more specific and mentoring is more general.
Yeah.
I like that. By the way, Jeff, do you know how to scroll the chat? You said something about you couldn't see it a little bit earlier.
No, I do. I'm not that old, but I couldn't find it. Is what
it's got nothing to do with being old. Okay.
I love what Jeremy said. Mentors have to be 40 years or older. So sorry, you qualify, Richard. I don't. I'm sorry. A mentor doesn't always need to be a coach, but they might ask you, where do you need to go for that skill?
Okay. Oh, I like that. So as a referral resource in some ways. Yeah. Good. Okay.
Do you want to read some of the
answers? Yeah, I'm going to use my scrolling that I just lectured you about. Yvette, great example. So yeah, Shannon says the ability to listen. Yeah,
absolutely.
And Mark being patient, being a simplifier. I like that, kind of helping to get rid of all the separate the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
Don says empathetic listener, inquisitive. Ooh,
I want to stop you because there's a comma there. And so it's empathetic
and a listener.
And I got to tell you, I'm going to focus on empathy, but you're going to focus on inquisitive things.
Now I'm going to focus on the comma because I love the fact that the comma or lack of the comma
Yeah.
can change the meaning so much, which makes me bring up the book recommendation of
Yes.
Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. If you don't know that book, you must look it up.
Yes,
Eats,
exactly.
Shoots, and Leaves.
But I don't want to just read them. I
Empathetic,
think that Don has a point, and I really focus in on empathy.
okay.
And I'm sorry, there are a lot of mentors I'm finding who aren't empathetic, and especially in a technology-based organization. And I call them, they are definitely technical mentors if they can't have empathy for the person they're mentoring.
And in Don's use of the word inquisitive, I really like that because to me, a mentor is going to be curious. I mean, I love the quality of curiosity. I think being curious is so much better than already having all of the answers. And so if you're inquisitive with the person you're mentoring, you're not telling them everything. You're asking stuff from them, and then you might be able to shape what you know into something that works well for them.
You know, it's funny, in this organization, I audited an onboarding new hire orientation yesterday, just kind of sat in the back. And at the break, I met a young man who was very impressive with the questions he was asking. I just went up to him and we ended up in a conversation. I found out that he just finished his second doctoral degree. So he's a doctor. So the point I came to mind was a very, very bright guy, very personable too, which is unusual as a double doctor in engineering. But I will say, and I know that's a stereotype I just had, but what was very cool was that I was thinking that if I were his mentor, imagine what I could learn from him. So I think that one of the other qualifications that I think is incredibly important is the ability to listen and to learn. Like, we can learn from our mentees, and that's how we should go into it, that I'm going to get as much out of this relationship as they are. And sometimes we look at it more like I'm the expert and I'm going to share, my knowledge. But why can't we learn from and that's what you're talking about. First.
Yeah. In fact, I remember thinking about that. Doesn't all mentoring have the potential to be reverse mentoring?
Absolutely.
It can go both ways. This was one that was set up specifically for that.
I also think.
I just want to pick up on Frederick's comment that mentors are people who must be able to withhold judgment. To withhold judgment. I like that. And I want to go to something else, but after I'm going to give you a turn for a second.
Well, two more things. I think the qualifications. I think
you're going to take two turns. All right.
Yeah. A quick one is just that I think you have to be a great facilitator. And what I mean by that, almost therapist, in that you can facilitate conversation and it's not you telling, you talking, you teaching. I think it's more of facilitating discussion and helping it get to a point where they feel good about whatever it is they're discussing, but you not telling. The other thing I think is that you have to be somewhat of a risk taker. And I know this one's kind of odd, but it struck me as I'm going through this process that it's a risky thing to be a mentor. You may hear things that you're not sure what to do with them. You're not qualified to do it. You may have somebody who says, who reports back to your supervisor that it's not a good relationship because, Jeff just doesn't listen to me, whatever it is. So there's some risk involved as well.
You said you had two things.
That was it. So
those two.
One being a facilitator and one being a risk taker. So.
Okay. Going back to the concept of being a simplifier, and I really like that, Jeff, especially when you talk about that kind of onboarding buddy type mentor. Because I think about it, when you come into a new job and you've read all this stuff that they've sent you, and everything about what you're going to have to do, and everything about coming to work for this company, and when you get there, your onboarding mentor, your onboarding buddy could just say, yeah, all of that is true. Let me tell you what you really need to know. This is the stuff you need to focus on. This is the stuff that's really important. The other is there, but don't worry about memorizing all of that, but you really got to pay homage to this.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all kinds of statistics out there that I've read too, that employees are I think 10%, 20% more likely to be promoted with a mentor when they've had a mentoring relationship. So another reason to be a mentor. Just to go back to what Carol was saying, that people love to be able to impart a morsel of knowledge or wisdom that someone else finds valuable. So so the mentor can learn from their mentee. What would be the qualifications of a good mentee? Maybe put that in the chat box. What would the qualifications be of a good mentee? I mean, we can reverse things and say they got to be able to listen. Right?
Yeah. Oh, they got to be able to talk.
Yeah.
Oh, we have a long.
Oh, that's There's Stephen with his.
Oh, it was Chat GPT. Oh, bless you. Stephen.
We'll let people read that, okay?
Yeah. We'll keep this in the transcript.
We keep going. I think the bottom line, today, and we're obviously not ready to wrap up yet, but I do have a wrap up I didn't mention to you offline, Richard, that I want to mention to everybody about a new initiative we're taking as a group at EOW. But
we really are a group, even though sometimes there's only two of us here.
Yeah, exactly. I just think that we have to, it goes back to these qualities we're talking about. I think it's a give and take is where I was going. And I think that we have to be able to offer constructive criticism. It's not just always, a bed of roses, so to speak. But I think as a mentee, nobody's answering that one as to what makes a great mentee. Let me ask you, what makes a great mentee?
Oh, no, they are.
There we go.
I like what Yvette said, someone who's really excited to learn.
Yes.
Not having
that's beautiful.
I already know that attitude.
Yeah. And Carol has one that yesterday I actually taught a mentoring class at this organization. And the guy said, I've been a mentor, but my experience was bad because the person, no matter what I said yes, but. The mentee always said yes, but. And so it's just such a negative attitude,
Okay.
So you have to be, like Carol says, having an attitude of, I know that, and rejecting their mentor's help.
Yeah. And Anna says being able to self-examine. So being self-aware, or at least wanting to be self-aware.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the other warning is, as a mentee, if someone were looking to become a mentee, the other warning I would give them is that it's not a therapy session. That's right. That's not what it's meant to be. That was the other thing I heard yesterday from somebody who said, I had a mentee who thought that I was their therapist, and that's not why I was there. So just interesting feedback, I guess.
Yeah, it takes special training and qualifications to be a therapist, but and not just anyone can be a mentor, but I think a lot of the characteristics that we saw there are accessible to a lot of people, and they can be good mentors. I once, years ago, was working with an organization. I was working with a whole bunch of other trainers, and we were kind of put into this organization that had a mentoring program. They were so excited about it, but it was like super formal, and people with more experience were told, you are going to be a mentor. And we were doing some breakout kind of focus groups with them. And it became clear there were some mentors who said, it's not that I don't want to help these people, but I don't have time. I've got other things going on in my life, and I don't have the bandwidth, and I'm just not sure how to do it. And I know we're here at training in order to learn how to do it, but I don't want to be a mentor. I don't want to be a mentor. And they're making me be a mentor. And we went back to the company and said, hey, you absolutely cannot force people to be a mentor. That's certainly something that you have to want to do. You might need a little persuasion, but you can't be forcing someone to be a mentor.
Yeah. I think the last thing that I was going to mention, and it is also from a mentor's perspective, when we're talking about qualifications. Anna had a good comment. She said, having realistic expectations about what the mentor can do for them.
Yeah, exactly. Not expecting, I'm gonna be in a mentoring relationship with you for 6 months, and they're gonna make me an assistant vice president.
Yeah. I think another adjective I would have put in for mentoring myself would be vulnerability. I mean, that a mentor can't possibly know all the answers. A good mentor needs to be vulnerable. I say this about leaders as well. but needs to be vulnerable in being able to say, you know what, I have no clue, but let's go find out together.
Yeah.
Or
then we'll both know. Yeah.
right. And you also expect a mentor to have some experience in the organization that maybe the mentee doesn't have. And with that comes a network, depending on the size of the organization. But being able to use your network connections within the organization or even outside the organization to help the mentee get the answer that they need.
Yeah. Yeah.
For sure. I'm curious, just as we do start to wrap up, I know that Shelley was one, and I'm sorry, I'm not scrolling all the way back, but somebody else mentioned that they do have formal mentoring programs. I'd love for you to put in the chat box, just if you can, in 25 words or less, what it looks like. How do you match mentor to mentee? I can't remember again who said it, and I can go back, but someone mentioned that you have formal meetings every month, and people are invited. I don't know exactly how that looks. You want to scroll back and find it?
We have a formal mentoring program, which includes, this is from Frederick.
Okay.
Includes bi-weekly e-learning modules in addition to traditional mentoring format. Employees can enroll as mentors or mentees on an annual basis.
Okay.
Great.
Carol always makes me smile. How do you assign a mentor? How do you assign a mentor? You sit in a circle and spin the bottle. Right. So, but I am curious what they might look like. I mentioned one, which is a very formal technology-based kind of matching service. I was just curious. So Frederick mentioned another. The one that you were involved in, Richard, do you remember how it was established or what it looked like?
Yes, and it was very technically oriented. In other words, if you had this degree, and it was in an engineering firm, and if you had this degree and this discipline, then we would match you with this younger person who was on a similar career path.
Right. So it goes back to what are the qualifications, not what makes a good mentor, but where do you start? What do you say? People have these qualities to be a mentor. We haven't really done that in our program, and we're still experimenting. It's been suggested many times, who gets to be a mentor? Well, for us, it's really anybody who wants to be a mentor and feels like they could be. We're all adults. If they feel like they'd be a good mentor, hopefully they've got the experience.
Okay, yeah. So there's not a lot of vetting going on.
No.
Okay, yeah.
Do you want to read Shelley's response?
Yeah, so Shelley also says there are a few approaches. Both mentors and mentees register, and they can be matched, or they can request a specific mentor or mentee. They're given minimums to follow, meeting cadence, topics to chat about together, and challenges. When together, they decide on how they would like to move forward, goals to work toward, and any other things they would like to achieve. I like that idea, giving them some material, some things to work with. I can imagine there would be some mentors who would get in the room with someone and say, okay, what about, how about them bears? I mean, it might just talk about personal stuff, and it might lead to good stuff, but I think having some structure is always a good way to start.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of brings us to the end of what we were going to talk about. I'd like to spend the last few minutes kind of telling everybody about our exciting news. I want to say a thank you, first of all, to a longtime attendee and a co-host who's been with us before, is on right now, and that's Stephen Rayfield. Applause. For those of you that don't know, Stephen is a marketing guru, and that's my own description of him. So, and Stephen came to us with the idea, first of all, with the fact that we have over how many sessions? 100 and something.
120 something, yeah.
120 different shows, and we've done nothing with it. And we love having everybody here. But he came to us with a very detailed plan of turning EOW into a podcast, of taking the shows, stripping the video, and making them into podcasts. We are in the process of doing that with our past shows, at least the first, not the first, but we've kind of chosen 10 great podcasts, shows, and we're making them into podcasts. We're very excited about it. And what that means, the only repercussion for those of you who are longtime attendees, is you probably noticed we didn't have the music at the beginning. Oh, I'm so sad. Maybe that's why Sanjay and Mike couldn't make it. They were so
they're mourning the music.
Exactly, because we do have a formal intro and outro to our podcast and it wouldn't make sense to play something like that again. So you're gonna
Ashley says we're gonna have to work it into the podcast, and I agree. I think we could do that.
we could just sing it. So
Yeah,
that'd be great. But I'm very excited, and we will keep you abreast of now that you will have two options. That is three options: to attend live, as many of you do every other week, to watch the replay on YouTube, and you can do that by going to eowednesday.com and getting directly the link right there. And then the third way will be as a podcast, and we're going to ask you, our faithful listeners and viewers, to help us promote that when we're ready. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here. Richard, safe travels.
Thank you. I'm headed to Kansas City today, where I've already been twice or three times in the last few months. So,
well, but you weren't there this week for the NFL draft.
No, I wasn't there for the NFL draft. Probably just as well. My ticket was expensive enough as it was, and I won't be there this time with Sanjay, who was there the time before last when I was there.
Yeah, are you going to Missouri or Kansas, Carol?
I'm going to be in the Missouri part this time.
Okay.
Yeah. Although it's interesting, I have friends in the Kansas part. I'm going to see them next time.
Yeah. Please take your photograph behind you with you. Don't forget and don't leave it there.
Okay.
The eye is with you.
The creepy eye.
Exactly. Until May 17th, everyone.
Yes.
Jeff, Richard, thank you.
Richard.
Travel safely.
Thank you.
And we'll see everyone.
And thanks to everybody on the call today for all your contribution. Could not have carried nearly the conversation that we did without you. So thanks, everyone. We will see you when, Jeff? Every other Wednesday.
Every other Wednesday. See you guys.